Hi, Michael. I'm Rick Mark, the CEO of VMS Ventures and North American Nickel.
Can you bring us to an update on the Reed Copper Project and Hudbay, please?
I certainly can. Since we last talked at PDAC in 2013, we referred to it as the Reed Copper Project. I can happily tell you now it's the Reed Copper Mine. It's in production. We expect to be in full production in April of 2014. That's only 3 months from now. Hudbay is the operator. They own 70% of the project. We own 30%, and nicely for our shareholders, we're carried to production, which means that we will pay Hudbay back in terms of the cost of building the mine, about $75 million, out of the early proceeds of the mine beginning in April.
What does that do for VMS Ventures going forward? What decisions or capabilities are you going to have after that mine comes into production?
Well, depending on the copper price, but it looks pretty conclusive, at least at these copper prices and higher. We will be in cash flow ourselves in 2015. The life of mine is 5 to 6 years, depending again on the copper prices, and it's a dangerous sort of speculative statement to make, but people can look at our projections based on the Hudbay feasibility study, and at these levels and up, we're going to see upwards of 30 to 40 million and potentially considerably more if the copper price goes higher coming to VMS, which means we're looking for projects. And I think I mentioned to you last year that even at that time we were looking, and it's almost one of our exploration arms now, is how do we find that next project for VMS? We have some leverage in the sense that we can pay for it without financing and weakening our capital structure, and we can make plans for that cash.
A year ago at PDAC, you said that the environment was, as you put it, brutal at the time, but it also created some opportunities right now. I guess how would you describe the market?
I don't think it's changed, quite frankly. There's a little bit of life in the base metals right now, but I think broadly the junior markets are struggling. It's still very difficult to get financing for particularly early stage projects, which again I think is a tremendous opportunity for us. Just in the last 4 months we've seen opportunities that we didn't see at PDAC last year. So I expect that more and more companies are going to fall away from what was once considered to be a pretty substantial asset. It's still a tough place to be out there, and we're fortunate that we have money in the bank and we have cash flow coming.
What are the types of opportunities that would be a fit for VMS Ventures?
Well, I think people expect us to look at copper and base metals, which was where we start. But we had an interesting gold proposition in Manitoba put to us, for example, in November. We're discussing the idea of what other copper projects around the world might be worth taking a look at and joining forces with. Primarily, you have to ask yourself, is the market going to support this? Is it going to be seen as a low enough risk that it makes clear sense for us to take it on? And we can't make a mistake. We have to be right when we make our first decision.
Can you bring us up to date with your Greenland Project?
I certainly can. As you may recall, VMS owns now 23.9% of North American Nickel, symbol NAN, and we, through NAN, own 100% of the Manitoba Greenland Nickel Sulfide Project. And it's just been a fantastic 2.5 years with that project. It's on the southwest coast of Greenland. It's a moderate climate, warmed by the Gulf Stream, ice-free 12 months a year. Because of that, we attracted the attention of a very sophisticated, intelligent investing fund called the Sentient Group. And Sentient has re-upped. They now own 40% of the company. And to investors who want some sense of due diligence, I can assure you these guys are serious. As I mentioned, it's very large. It's 75 kilometers long. It's a nickel belt that was known in the 60s, and fortunately, airborne, helicopter-borne VTEM technology has shown us there's lots of conductive bodies in that big belt. But most importantly, these really good high-grade intersections showed up in August and September of 2013. 5% nickel is the equivalent, softly, of 10% copper. It's very hard to know. There aren't many nickel plays, Michael, in the world, and certainly everyone's watching this one. We'll be back on the ground in April. We'll be looking deeper from the ground, and we'll be drilling back in that Imiak Hill area where the Highgrade is in June.
It's obviously an isolated project. What are the challenges doing exploration work there?
It's not so bad. We are helicopter drilling right now, which is more expensive than what we'd like. if we're successful this year, we'll build roads, we'll get up there, and we'll make that drilling element less expensive. But this is a sophisticated area now. Hudson Resources, for example, has been up there 11 years. There are facilitators on the ground in the capital of Nuuk that are assisting us. There's skilled Greenlanders beginning to show up and help us, which is great. Canadian drillers are not far away. I mentioned again, it's a moderate climate in southwest Greenland. It's not as bad to work in as the Arctic, for example. There's still some planning, logistics to go through, but nothing out of the ordinary. And as a political jurisdiction, it's fantastic. The Greenland Prime Minister was quoted in the Mining in Greenland Wall Street Journal cover article in August as saying, we're open for mining and the first mine is going to make a tremendous impact on our economy. Remember, they only have 56,000 people in Greenland. So we'd love to be that first mine.
When we talked last time, you said that winter was a very good time to do some drilling in Manitoba. I'm just wondering if there's any news that is going to be coming from VMS Ventures for the next 1 to 2 quarters.
You know, that's interesting. We have decided not to drill this winter. We have decided the prudent way to go with our $6 million is to make the investment in North American nickel to maintain our position and use that as our exploration upside for VMS shareholders this winter. You're probably aware we've drilled something like 80 targets over the last 4 years in Manitoba. So we're going to sit back a little bit, see what we can learn from Hudbay. We still have a very large land position this year, but we're going to keep that money in hand until we see cash flow and commit to our position in North American nickel.
You said when you're at PDAC, you're talking to your shareholders. They like the story that VMS Ventures were doing. What are your major shareholders are telling you now?
I think the stock is trickling up again after tax loss selling in December. I think people have to be patient in these markets. It isn't like things are going to jump that aren't drill related. And so they want confidence that the production is real. So I think when we get to full commercial production, we'll get a little more comfortable. People can say it's going to happen. They're watching the copper price. As it rises, they know the value of that mine is rising. And we should expect to see the price of the stock move with it. So I think the people that are holding VMS are holding it because they think copper is going higher and they think Hudbay is going to do exactly what they say. And I must compliment Hudbay. They have been right on schedule and right on budget through the entire project.
Thank you very much, Rick.
Michael, my pleasure. Good to see you again.